Hey everybody, welcome back to Down the Shore Homestead. Today's video is going to be a lot different from anything I've done before. Hey Rock, come on up here, buddy. I was challenged with creating 10 videos in 10 days. Sorry, this is unscripted, so Rocco came over here to say hi. Say hi, everybody. So I was challenged to come up with 10 videos in 10 days to give younger generations my advice and the things that I have learned throughout my lifetime. So it seems that the younger generation dominates most of social media, and that is why this challenge was started, I believe, to show the younger generation that us older generations have a lot to teach them. Even if they don't want the advice, we're going to give it to them anyways, because that's how Gen X is. And I'm not here to say Gen X is better than Gen Z or the millennials or the boomers. I don't believe that one generation is better than the other. I believe that each generation had its own challenges, and that generation learned from those challenges. And we can all learn from each other if we would just open up our ears and listen. I know when I was younger, I thought I knew it all, and I have children myself that are in their 30s now, and they all seem to think that they know everything. And I'm sorry, kids, but you don't. You have no clue. You are still young. There are a lot of things that you have not gone through yet. And like you, when I was your age, I thought I knew it all. And I didn't. And pretty much each day I learned something new. I grew up in a dysfunctional family. We weren't extremely poor, but we were poor. I don't really remember anything before the age of 6. I have no idea why. My husband remembers stuff from when he was like 3. He has an exceptional memory. It's crazy what that man remembers. But I am not one of those kids. And I was just talking to my niece the other day. She's like, why don't I remember anything about my childhood? And I honestly have no idea why. So if you know, put it in the comments below, because I would love to know why I don't remember barely anything from my childhood. It takes triggers for me to remember things. A picture, a movie, a song. Those things trigger memories, but I just can't remember them off the cuff. I do remember when my stepfather met my mother, and we ended up moving in with him, and we lived with him from about the age of 6 until I was in my late teens when they divorced. My stepfather was very demanding. He was very strict. We got the belt. Which I know when I had children, I said I would never spank my kids because of the way I was treated. However, I realize now that sometimes kids just need a little whack on the butt with a bare open hand, just to get them to realize, holy crap, I did something really bad, and I really shouldn't do that again. Because I see the younger generations, not the millennials so much. It started with my children's generation, the millennials, where because I was spanked so much, I didn't want to spank my children. So therefore, they didn't get that discipline that they probably should have gotten. A lot of parents didn't discipline at all. And we took our kids to therapy for everything, and timeouts, and those just didn't work. I'm sorry, but I feel like they just didn't work. I feel like when my kids were being extremely bad and really needed to learn, a good whack on the butt actually worked. I remember trying to go into a grocery store 3 times to do grocery shopping with my 2 children by myself because my ex and I had split up. And I tried to time out 3 times in the car, and it didn't work. I took them home, I gave them a spanking on the butt, and the next time we went to the store, they behaved. So from that point on, if they needed it, I gave them an open-handed spank on the butt, and they straightened up. Was I a perfect mother? Absolutely not. Nobody is perfect. Everybody needs to learn something. You need to be open to suggestions. You need to be open to people telling you that you are wrong and accept the fact that you are wrong if they give you the actual facts. You can't live in denial. A lot of these kids are like, oh, I didn't do that. For instance, if I did something wrong in school, my mom and my stepfather signed the note that said that the school could spank me in school if I got out of hand. Because sometimes kids need to be told that they're just pushing the limits too much, and they need to be told you're wrong, and you need to pay the punishment for it. And I think that's a problem with this young generation, that they're not disciplined at all. And I'm not saying that corporal punishment should be given every single day for every little thing they do wrong. What I'm saying, though, is these kids that are younger are completely out of control. They're very disrespectful to their teachers, to people, to strangers. They feel entitled. It's bad. It's really bad. And I'm not saying that I am the answer. I'm not saying that I'm going to give you the answer to everything and that I'm right. I'm just saying that this younger generation has big problems, and the older generations need to help the younger generations straighten out, because they are the future. My parents both worked, and I was a latchkey kid. I walked to school. Granted, I only lived 3 doors down from my elementary school, but I walked to school in kindergarten, and I walked home by myself, and I let myself into the house, and from what I remember, I gave myself a snack, and I went outside and I played. And I remember being told, go outside and don't come back until the streetlights come on. And when the streetlights come on, you're allowed to come home. And if I was late, I got the belt because I wasn't home on time. And like I said, this video is probably going to be all over the place because it's coming from off the cuff. However, this younger generation is so coddled and so controlled, and everything is scheduled for them. They don't have time to really just have fun. And when they do want to have fun, what do? They get on their devices or they play video games. And that's not good. These kids need to get outside and play and use their imaginations and have critical thinking skills. I was at a store the other day and a girl couldn't do simple math in her head. Simple add, subtract. It was crazy. She literally had to get someone else to do it for her. That is sad to me. And I wasn't the best parent. I feel like, even though I didn't know I was doing it at the time, but I was being very selfish about my relationships coming before my kids sometimes. And I never wanted that for my kids. I always wanted to put my kids first. But I can see now, when I look back, that sometimes I might have put my kids second, and I totally regret that. And I've told my children that I feel bad, and I can't take back what I have done, but I can try and improve my relationships with them now that they are getting older. So again, if this is all over the place, I apologize. I raised my brothers and sisters. Well, my brother and sister. My older brother and sister were pretty much out of the house I don't really remember them being in the house when I was a kid. My older brother went to college. Well, he worked all the time, then he went to college, and I don't really remember him ever really being around in the house. My older sister got married at 16. My mother signed the letter so that she could get married at 16. Now, she's still married 40-something years later. And God bless her that she was able to make it work for all those years, getting married that young. But I don't recommend getting married that young. As a matter of fact, I don't recommend getting married unless you are absolutely sure you loved somebody. If you love somebody, you will do everything in your power to make that person happy no matter what. And they will do the same for you. So that's one advice that I'll give you, that if you really love somebody, you'll know it, because, and it's not an infatuation, it's love. You will do anything to make them happy. But you're not going to give up your own self and the things that you want to do and the things that you like and your future plans for them. You both need to support each other in your plans for the future. If you truly love somebody, you will compromise and find a way to make both of your future plans happen. So if you truly love somebody and you're going to get married, make sure that you understand that it is for the rest of your life. And if you do love each other, it will last the rest of your life. Divorce is too easy these days. People just get married on a whim, and then they're like, all right, it doesn't work anymore, let's just quit. Now I'm going to find somebody new. That needs to stop. The family unit needs to come back together. That is one thing that is probably why these kids are so messed up now. These kids don't have that family unit. They need that mother. They need that father figure. They need that mother and that father. They can't have a mom acting like a dad, because moms just aren't dads, and dads just aren't moms. They can try, but they just aren't. A man is masculine. He's the protector. He's the one that keeps the family safe, and he provides. The mother is the nurturer. She nurtures the kids. She teaches them, as well as the father. The father teaches them morals, and so does the mother. But the mother also is the nurturer. She makes sure that they're fed, clothed, are happy. The father makes sure that they have a place to live, the clothes on their back, the food to eat. And he also makes sure they have fun and experiences as a family unit. And we have gotten away from that in this country, and it needs to come back. Like I said, I grew up in a dysfunctional family. I don't remember really sitting around watching TV together, but I do remember playing with my younger brother and sister, who I actually had to take care of when I was younger, because my stepfather drove a truck and my mother would go with him for like a month at a time. I remember when I was 13 or 14, my mother gave me the checkbook and signed a bunch of checks so that I could pay the bills while they were away. I could call the school and call myself out of school if I wanted to, but I didn't. I still went to school. But I remember taking care of my younger brother and sister, who were 4 years younger than me. Because I came from a dysfunctional family, I had to fend for myself. I remember going out, being out all day, going to my friends' houses. I remember riding go-karts in a parking lot with a bunch of tractor trailers parked, and we would drive under the tractor trailers by ducking. We could have chopped our heads off, but we didn't. I remember my brother riding his bicycle, and the front wheel of his tire popped off when he was doing wheelie, and he scraped his knuckles. But we didn't wear helmets. We didn't have cell phones to call 911 if we got hurt. I remember playing in the street, and people would call car, and you would have to run away. You would have to run to the side of the street because a car was coming, and then when the car went by, you'd go back to playing in the street. I remember it raining really hard, and we would play in the puddles in the street. I remember going in the woods and playing all day long, and nobody knew where we were or what we were doing, and they really didn't care as long as we were not in the house. When I was a kid, you were seen but not heard. You didn't talk over parents. I see kids doing that all the time now. You respected your parents. If anybody older than you came into a room and you were sitting in a chair, you got up and gave them that chair. I don't care if they were only 5 years older than you. You got up and sat on the floor and let someone who was older take your spot. That's called respect for your elders. Kids nowadays don't have that. If an older person comes in the room, they don't get up and give their seat to them. They'll sit and continue doing what they were doing on their phone or watching TV. It's actually kind of sad. that an older person doesn't feel comfortable coming into a room and asking somebody to get up and give them a seat. As dysfunctional as my family was, at least I was taught morals. We did go to church when I was young, and I stopped going to church when I asked the pastor where God came from, and he said he's just there. And after that, I got turned off. That doesn't mean I'm not religious. That just means that I don't believe in organized religion. So I also remember working when I was 14 years old. I worked in the cornfields, detasseling corn. Basically, you take the feathery looking thing on the top of the corn off the corn. I believe that was so that it stops pollinating. But I did that for, I think it was 2 summers, to make money so that I could buy school clothes, because my parents wouldn't buy me expensive things. I remember going to Kmart and buying clothes. I remember having the navy sneakers with the 3 stripes on the side. I think they were called Tracks. I can't remember for sure. But I mean, I didn't have name brand anything as a kid, even in high school. And that is one thing that my son, I was grateful for. He didn't care either. He wanted nice sneakers, and I spent good money on sneakers, but he wore t-shirts and jeans. He didn't care. My daughter was also okay with buying stuff at the back of the store in the clearance rack that didn't cost a fortune. She was okay with that, and I'm glad for that. That is one thing that these younger generations need to learn, and even my generation. Who cares what people think of you? Who cares? They don't mean anything to you. Let them be. Let them be them, and let you be you, and that's all that matters. As long as you have family and friends that love you, that's all that matters. And they should love you for you. They should love you for who you are, not what you look like or what you have. That's one thing I have learned over the last 5 years, is that monetary things don't mean anything. You need to spend time with your family that you love and who love you and treat you well. I'm not saying that if they treat you bad, you should love them no matter what. If they treat you bad, then they're not, then even though they're family, they don't matter to you. Never, ever let someone treat you badly just because they're a family member. Never. And nobody should treat you bad. Nobody. I don't care if it's a stranger, family, whatever. It doesn't matter. Nobody should treat you bad or make you feel less than what you are. That is like one of the best advice I can give anybody. Don't let anybody put you down, treat you badly. You should be treated the way that you treat other people. Now, if you're a miserable person who treats people horribly, then they're going to treat you the same. I was told that when I was younger. Treat people not how you want to be treated, but treat people better than how you want to be treated. Because you might be okay with letting somebody call you a name on the sly for no reason. You might let that go. But that doesn't mean that you should do that to somebody else. So you should treat people better than how you expect people to treat you. Make sense? I hope so. And then I was also told that when you start working, to be 15 minutes early is to be on time. Because I used to show up right on time. And my boss told me once, you know, if you get here 15 minutes early, you'll actually be on time, because you'll have time to put your stuff away. And then when it's time to clock in, you're actually ready for work. So that stuck with me throughout my whole life. I've always tried to be 15 minutes early because it stuck in my head. To be 15 minutes early is to be on time. Makes sense. And it wasn't just for work, it's for everything. So that you're not late for a dinner, you're not late for an event. So keep that in mind as well. So not only did my parents not really raise me, I pretty much was always at my friend's house. Actually, my mother used to get mad at me because I would offer to do dishes at my friend's house, but I hated doing them at home. And I think I started doing dishes around the time I was like 6 or 7. So I had chores. We had to make sure that our rooms were clean, that the laundry was down the chute into the basement where we did laundry. I don't remember my mother ever teaching me how to cook. My stepfather cooked, and I hated his cooking. It was, ugh. He would put peppers and onions and spaghetti sauce, and Yeah, I didn't really like his cooking. However, we were the generation that if you didn't like it, that's what you got, and you didn't get anything else. No snacks later. You ate what was served, or you just didn't eat. And a lot of the times, I just didn't eat. We had to eat everything on our plate as well. You couldn't, you couldn't throw away food. You, oh, and I also remember that we had to take the ashes from the wood stove, and take them out back and dump them and bring them back and bring the container back in. That was another chore that we had. And my parents watched TV. We didn't watch TV. We watched TV on Saturday mornings. That is one thing they let us do, is watch Saturday morning cartoons and after school specials during the week if there was one. But other than that, my parents watched the TV and we had to watch whatever they wanted. Like Lawrence Welk show, I remember that very well. Ugh, hated that show. But it's what my parents watched. So this video is getting pretty long here. Let me try and wrap up some more stuff here. Let's see. Now, after I detasseled corn, I worked at like Burger King for, I don't know, season or two. I don't remember. I really don't remember how long I worked there. But I remember being told as a kid to do as many jobs as I could when I was younger, to try different things, to see what I liked the most, and that would help me decide on what career I wanted to have. I remember taking a survey in school, and they told me I was either supposed to be a librarian or a scientist, which is totally not me. I don't know where they got that idea from. But I do remember I always wanted to work in IT, because in 8th grade we all started getting computers, and that's when we got DOS. So I remember I wanted to be in computers. And then I also loved animals and wanted to be like a marine biologist. Well, I ended up working in a lumber yard in my first career for many years. And then when I moved to where I am now, I had to switch careers because I couldn't find a job doing that, and ended up in IT. So I'm pretty proud of what I've been able to accomplish in my careers. And now I'm ready to retire. Oh, that's another thing. They don't teach you finance in school, really. That is one thing that I am happy about. And I didn't know that this stopped happening, but we were the generation that got home ec. We learned how to sew. We learned how to cook. And then the next quarter we had shop, and we learned how to use woodworking tools and tools in general. And then the next semester we had art, and we learned how to make pottery. I made an ashtray for my stepfather who smoked. And then the next semester we had something called Living in Today's World, where we had to budget for a family of 4 and do taxes and write checks. And I don't think they have that in these schools anymore, and they really need to bring that back, because it blows my mind that kids don't know how to write a check. And I know that everything is digital now for the most part, but you should still be able to learn how to write a check. I literally had to teach my kids how to write a check and do their taxes. That is something that they should have learned in school. I mean, I don't mind teaching them that, but for those kids that had parents that didn't know how to do it either, that's a good thing to have as a school subject. And finance is one of those things that they absolutely do not teach you in school, and that should absolutely be something that you learn. And as a homesteader, I'm starting to realize that that is their plan. And I don't want to get political here, but the elites want workers, not thinkers. So they don't want you to know how to finance your money well, and how to not get into debt, and to create generational wealth, which is what they do. They create generational wealth. And that is one thing that I am trying to do for my kids right now. And that is one thing that all of you in the younger generation need to look at. How can you create generational wealth? Create LLCs, create businesses, create side hustles. Those are definitely things that you should look at to prepare you and future generations in your family to not have to struggle like like my generation has had to do, and generations before me. And I'm not saying that we were all poor and that we were all raised horribly in dysfunctional families. I happened to grow up in a dysfunctional family, and a couple of my friends had great families. I was jealous. They had a loving father and a loving mother who wanted to see them succeed in life. Unfortunately, and my grandparents were awesome, by the way. I can't say anything bad about my grandparents. I loved my grandparents to death. And I don't know the story about, I don't know how my grandparents raised my mother and her brothers and sisters and what that was like, because my mom really never talked about it. But I do remember happy times at my grandparents' house. I love my grandkids and love having them come around and hanging out with us. They're still very young, and hopefully when they get older, they'll still want to come hang out, because my kids don't really come around much right now, and that's probably because they're trying to do their own thing and start their own lives. And that's okay, but hopefully they'll start to come back around soon, because life is extremely short. Once you hit about 40, you'll start to realize that you're definitely middle-aged then, because not everybody lives to 100. So midlife is more like 30, 40. So if you're in your 30, 40s, you're midlife, and you need to start planning, and you need to start enjoying your life. That's another thing. Enjoy your life as if you won't be around tomorrow, because there's no guarantee that tomorrow is going to come. And I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom, but I am trying to get you to see that every day is precious, and that you should find something good in every single day that you have. Even if it's the crappiest day you've had, there had to have been something good that happened during that day. And try and be nice. Be nice to everybody. You don't know what people are going through. If you are in a store, hold the door open for somebody. And if they don't say thank you for you holding the door open, let it go. Because maybe they're having a very bad day themselves and didn't realize that they did not say thank you. So take everything with a grain of salt. Be nice. Smile. Sometimes people just need to have somebody smile at them and say, hey, it's going to be okay, man. And occasionally pay it forward to people, because kindness goes a long way. And if we all start being more kind, I think the world will be a better place. Buy somebody a coffee for no reason. If you're in line at Dunkin' Donuts, buy the coffee for the guy behind you. If you see a vet, offer to buy them a coffee or buy their lunch, especially because they fought for this country. They deserve our respect. We don't know what they went through over there, and we really need to treat our vets a heck of a lot better than we treat them now. And you never know what someone's going through in their own personal lives, and they may look like the happiest person in the world, like Robin Williams, the comedian. He looked like the happiest guy in the world and ended up committing suicide. So you don't know what people are going through, so be kind. I can be guilty of that as well. I can get snappy with people and I feel bad afterwards, and I don't like to be that person, and I'm trying to be a better person every single day. I had a glare on the camera there for a minute. So, and this is to keep Rocco off of the pool cover, because he likes to walk across it, and we're afraid he's going to fall through it, even though it's supposed to hold him. You never know. So we put a fence around the pool. So that's what that ugly fence back there is for. So anyways, just be kind. And you don't like people taking their bad day out on you, so don't take your bad day out on them. And if you don't have a lot of family and friends, that's okay. Just be thankful for the ones that you do have. For instance, these Hallmark movies and these Christmas movies where everybody is so happy and they go out and they cut down their Christmas tree. Yeah, that's not reality. I don't know that reality for anybody I know. Maybe the elites live like that, but I highly doubt it. Everybody has skeletons in their closet. Everybody has something they're going through. Even if you are the richest person in the world, you cannot tell me that they are not going through something. So you can watch those shows, but don't feel like that's a reality, because it's not. Oh, and you are not owed anything. Nobody owes you anything. You need to work for what you want. You need to write down a 5 and 10-year plan. Well, first of all, you need to make yourself happy over anybody else. Your life will not be happy unless you are actually happy with yourself. Think about what makes you happy. Think about what you want. Write them down. Make a baby step plan for the next 5 years and 10 years, and adjust that plan as things happen. And if things block it, look for a different way to get to that to get to the end of that plan, or change your plan. Maybe the universe is telling you you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to do something else. Like the test that I took when I was a kid that told me I should be a librarian or a scientist, which I knew for a fact that was not what I wanted. So that is not the plan that I took. Adjust. Adjust to life's challenges and find ways to continue a path forward to what makes you happy. And you may have to change the plans, but in the end, you will find happiness if you work hard and treat people well. And that's another thing. Karma is real. Oh, here comes a plane. Oh, it's a big bomber. Pretty cool. And karma is real. So, whether you're religious or not, and I know a lot of these younger generations are not religious, however, I do believe that there is an energy in everything. And what energy you put out is what comes back twofold. So if you are miserable and you're putting out negative energy, that's what you're going to get back. I learned this about 10 years ago. I started trying to be nicer to everybody, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not always nice to everybody. I try. And like I said, nobody's perfect. So I tried to donate to different causes whenever I can. And I'm not saying I do that to get things back. I'm just saying that I try to donate whenever I can. I try to pay it forward whenever I can. I just try to be nice to people, and I will say that it's probably not a coincidence that all of a sudden my life has changed for the better. Good things started coming my way. I've had opportunities that I feel like the positive energy that I put out got positive energy to come back and give me opportunities that I probably wouldn't have had if I was still on the path of not being as nice as I was. And I'm not saying I was a miserable person who treated people horribly, but I just feel that if you put out positive energy comes back and good things start to happen in your life. And it helps if you're a little bit spiritual, because asking for help every once in a while from the powers that be is not a bad thing. And I'm not saying it's always going to work, but miracles do happen. So keep that in mind. So for now, I think this video is long enough. I know it's hard for me to sit through more than 15 minutes of a video, so I'll try and edit some of this out and make it as short as I can and get to the point, because like I said, this was an unscripted video. I wanted to give you my perception of what growing up Generation X as a latchkey kid and what I have learned so far, and maybe in the next video I'll expand a little bit more. But for right now, I'll stop it here. Hopefully you got something out of this. Hopefully you'll give it a thumbs up so this will push out for other people to see. And hopefully you'll subscribe to the channel, because my normal videos are on homesteading, self-sufficiency, and I've got some great recipes that I'm going to put up soon. And I also have a whole series on home remedies that have been tested by science that actually work. So hopefully you'll check those out as well. And hopefully you got something out of this video. We'll see you on the next one.